I've got a fancy presentation, so I'm going to have to use two clickers, so bear with me for this. Good morning, my name is Paul West. I'm VP of EMEA at Apponboard, and today we're going to talk about the evolution of the App Store, past, present, and future, and where we're headed. And I'd like to kick off the presentation directly with a quote. So, trust and attention. These are the scarce items in a post-scarcity world. And I think this quote perfectly sums up our industry and many others today in regards to when consumers are surrounded by choice, have an abundance of choice, then trust is harder for businesses and brands to maintain and keep hold of. I'm going to show why this is relevant for the App Store. So where did we start? If we think about 10 years ago, this is the original design of the App Store. It'd be interesting to see a show of hands of who was developing apps like 10 years ago, maybe like hands up. Good, there's a couple. Hopefully some nostalgia hits you as you walk down memory lane of designing apps for the App Store, even to where we are today. Obviously lots of visual changes, lots more curated imagery. Same on the Android market, which was the original name for the Google Play Store. We saw many more designs, reiterations, as we approach to where we are today. And you think, as we move forward to where we are now, there's much more than just visual changes in the stores, and we like to compare exactly what the physical changes are behind in terms of infrastructure. So there are two factors here that are super relevant in our opinion. One, there's market dynamic shifts, and two, there's and the second point is regards to the infrastructure changes, the technology advancements. If you look at 10 years ago, the entrance fee for an Apple developer was $99. Today, that's a really small barrier to entry for a developer. And naturally, we've seen huge success with smartphones globally, so a huge rise in apps available and the demand. Over 2.2 million apps are available in the iOS store. It gets 500 million visitors a week, and there's 130 billion downloads today over the last 10 years. So this growth is obviously extreme, and we know this. The second point is on the technological improvements. So the file size cellular limit of an original app in 2008 was 10 megabytes to be able to stream and download over cellular. Now it's 150 megabytes. And even the size of the APKs on the stores have increased to 4 gigabyte now. We have 4 gigabyte games available to download. So these two things, in my opinion, have moved the friction points for developers and have actually made things just as challenging in a different way. On the Google Play Store, we see the same scale, same growth. We're all aware of this. And actually, we've introduced pricing options from the platforms, discoverability methods such as paid search, etc., to kind of try and identify the good apps or the apps that we want within this ecosystem. We think the original tagline for the App Store was there's an app for everything. Now there's about 100 for everything. Then there's kind of more sectors that have emerged in our industry to try and help extract that value. ASO, of course, being a major factor coming and growing over the last couple of years. And I think it's quite clear to see that the app stores have created a new user behavior. We now live in an on-demand world. If we think about the industries and the businesses around us that we use every day and that are growing, these are companies that are minimizing friction to solve real-world consumer challenges. And these are all familiar, I'm sure, around the world that companies like this are emerging and getting a lot of excitement and fundraising and, of course, revenue. So the question remains, why aren't apps on demand? That's what the question that Apponboard is asking. Why do we need to download a 2 gigabyte file to know if we want to play that game? We see premium experiences coming to mobile more than ever, with the likes of console games coming into the market, and this presents kind of a new challenge. This is the APK size growth of apps over the last 5 years. And it's, as you can see, that's kind of consistent growth of file sizes. So this is the new friction point that used to be a paywall 10 years ago. And obviously this APK size does bring distribution challenges. Eric touched on it briefly earlier in terms of the challenges in emerging markets. Well, we've got some data from the Google blog which shows that when you reduce the file size of your APK, your install rate goes up on the store page. Kind of makes sense. But here's the actual numbers from the Google Play Store. A 1.5% increase on your conversion funnel from store page visits when you drop your file size APK by 10 megabytes, which is pretty significant if you think of the lifetime of your app and the scale of that funnel that everyone in this room kind of acquires. So, of course, we don't make big apps for the sake of it. The apps are getting larger because they're more premium experiences, they're higher quality assets. So Google have come up with a solution, Google Play Instant. And this is talking specifically around the try now. Can I just have a show of hands? Who's familiar in the room with the try now? OK, cool, around 30%, interesting. So try now is a new feature from Google, which is available to everyone, where you can upload a small APK under 10 megabytes is the file size limit, and it will allow you to have a try now button on your store page. So the goal of this, of course, is to increase conversion and increase the quality of user that you are acquiring or using on your storefront. So Apponboard specializes in creating these experiences. Our technology is very well suited to create premium experiences that are under 10 megabytes. And I'd like to show you one. This is one we built for the Game Insight team, Guns of Boom. And here we go. So you can see a couple of things. A video really doesn't do it justice. Come and see one of our guys. We'll show you that in person to play. You can see it's all included in the Google Play ecosystem, all the official APIs, etc. And the most important factor is quality. This lives on the storefront, on the store page. This needs to be as high quality as possible to give your consumer the best experience available. If you think about the quote earlier, what better way of getting a consumer's attention and trust than giving them an instant experience of the best element of your product? So we've seen significant demand for this product since we started working with Google halfway through the end of last year. And I'd really like to show you kind of another element to this of why it's so effective. We did a side-by-side comparison with comparing a product with a try now and without a try now, just to show you the intent to play and the time it takes for a consumer. So on the left-hand side, we have a try now available. We're going to search for CSR Racing 2. On the right-hand side, the try now won't be available. We'll load it up in the Google Play Store, and we actually go into the storefront page. You can see the Try Now button is on the left here and on the left here, and we'll tap that. So the demo, the under 10 megabyte file is downloading, and it kicks open premium experience of CSR2. Everyone is familiar with this awesome here. You can see the particle effects, the reflections and everything is all there, and the user is able to play in 8.5 seconds. On the right-hand side, the current flow is kind of what everyone's used to right now. Downloading a 2 gigabyte game can take some time. This is, of course, on Wi-Fi. So we're going to speed up the right-hand side, ATX. And you can see, actually, to get to that same segment, that same kind of user experience for the consumer, the friction's been massively reduced, increased on the right-hand side. It's almost 7 minutes to get to that same point. So it's 50x faster with the try now. And if you think about kind of the modern world and the post-scarcity of there's so much abundance, so much choice for consumers, this minimalizing friction and marginal gains is going to become more and more important. And even on the flow of the current version of downloading an app, you do have lots of mini friction barriers, which many gamers are probably used to. But these are the things that are kind of avoided to get the player to the content faster. And you think of the drop-off point within 7 minutes, maybe they're finished in the queue for their coffee, or whatever the scenario may be. This is where kind of the growth can come from in the future. The question everyone asks is how answer is very. These are some Google case studies that are live. You can go and check these out on the Google Store. King, Hothead, Alien Shooter from OneSoft and Playtika. These have all shown the results of their kind of use of try now. Some of the key ones to call out are Hothead with Mighty Battles resulted in an increase of new acquisitions by 19% by using their try now. And OneSoft reported install increases in Germany of 30% by using try now. So definitely super effective. One of our case studies, which we put out at the end of last year, is with Jam City, who made Cookie Jam Blast. They saw a significant increase in LTV. So they measured their day 1 and day 7 retention of users who came through the try now of users who didn't come through the try now. And they saw an up to 30% increase in day 1 and day 7 retention. If you think about what changes you need to do to your product to action that, And this is actually no development required to do this. Apponboard produced these themselves, for developers. So it's actually quite an easy outsource fix for increasing product metrics. This isn't just available for freemium games. This is available for paid games, available for non-gaming. And there's a lot of scope in terms of potential with this experience. It's kind of, as long as it's under 10 megabytes, you can pretty much do whatever you like to convince your user to be an installer and a good user. And it's interesting to note, actually, over the past couple of months, how the Google Play Store has shifted again. So this was the original, when we launched Try Nows with these partners, this is what their store page looked like. And now we can see that the visual banners, the imagery is all gone. And the number one call to action now on the storefront is Try Now. And these have become more and more important as we move forward in terms of optimizing and really increasing that funnel. So that's present. I think what's quite interesting is to talk about the future and what's going to be available with the app stores and mobile distribution moving forward. There's a lot of things that are kind of emerging technologies that will influence the App Store, in my opinion. There's a lot of good talks at this event on blockchain in itself. We've got things such as VR, AR, wearables, voice search. Could all these things play a big factor in our future kind of distribution? I like to focus on things that are within our control. So control our controllables. And these are the four I'm going to dilute down to talk to you about, which are almost available right now or coming very soon. So let's talk about new surfaces. So a quick show of hands, who's familiar with the Google Play Games app? Has anyone, hands up if you know of it, aware of it? Okay, it's about 10%, it looks like. So I did not know of this app until a couple of months ago. But it has over 1 billion installs. It's a Google-owned and operated service and product. And it's basically Google Play Games. It's the game store for accessing new products. It's almost like a game launcher. And there's new content curated that's surfaced to users who go and get their games from this service. And one of the interesting things we've noted is how instant gameplay is a big section within this kind of storefront. And Google are surfacing more and more touch points for organic installs and users of their Try Now service. So this is a really interesting element, not just to measure the Try Now impact on your store page, but elsewhere where your users are coming from by using this instant app Try Now experience. Impossible not to comment on the new routes to market that are available. We touched on earlier how Epic are launching an iOS and an Android store with favorable developer rates, and Netflix have navigated round the payment processes on the app stores themselves to be web-only and make that extra 30%. These things are also kind of out of our control as developers in this room, but it's important to keep an eye on these trends. What I really want to talk about is things that are actionable right now, like tomorrow. So pre-launch campaigns is available on iOS and Android and is growing to be an important factor. The success of Brawl Stars from Supercell was 4 million pre-registrations on day one. And think of that as a hit list straight away to get a notification out. Even with a 10% conversion rate, that's a lot of installs to launch with. We did a test with a LA-based studio who launched their products into pre-registration before the game goes live. And they saw over 10,000 pre-registrations per day on their product. So you can be in pre-registration for 90 days. It's available to everyone before you launch your product. It's a great way to collect that day one launch strategy and execution for when you kick off. Another important element is when we think about, there's a lot of marketers in the room, I imagine, in terms of UA sources. What's the best UA source? Maybe people will shout platforms or networks at me, but I think we all probably agree as marketers that word of mouth is critical. Super hard to measure, but super valuable. Well, this is another way that the Try Now experience is going to enhance kind of shareability and virality within apps moving forward. Here I get a text from my wife, actually. I get a text which says, hey, I think you'll like this game. Go and take a look. Just a simple URL. You tap the URL, instantly kicks open the demo, CSR2 again, instantly kicks open the demo, 3 seconds, 4 seconds in. On the right-hand side, we saw earlier, it takes 7 minutes to get that same experience. So this is one way to help spread the word much, much faster. And all we did on the left-hand side, if you have a Try Now available on your Google Play page, you just add and launch, or ampersand launch, onto the URL, and that's the link. So you can think about new ways to market your product with even old-school SMS marketing with this instant effectiveness. And we talked about kind of larger apps. It's not just effective on large games. This is a timestamp we did against some of the biggest games in the world, biggest products in the world on apps. You can see that even at the likes of Candy Crush level, where they're like 200 to 300 megabytes, it's 9 to 10 times faster having a try now available to get to the game content. One of the product after, that's something that all the stores are working on to kind of move towards a seamless approach. But this is super effective right now in terms of marginal gains and building the trust and attention in a world where we're surrounded by choice. And this is one of my favorite quotes ever, actually. This is from Jeff Bezos. And I'm going to read the whole thing. It's a little long, but if you haven't heard it, this is really valuable. If you have, I think it's helpful to re-listen to this. So Jeff Bezos on Amazon said, "I very frequently get the question, what's going to change in the next 10 years? And it's a very interesting question, and it's a very common one. I almost never get the question, what's not going to change in the next 10 years? And I submit to you that second question is actually more important of the two, because you can build a business strategy around the things that are stable in time. In our retail business, we know that customers want low prices, and I know that's going to be true 10 years from now. They want fast delivery, and they want vast selection. It's impossible to imagine a future 10 years from now where a customer comes up to us and says, Jeff, I love Amazon, I just wish the prices were a little higher. Or Jeff, I love Amazon, I just wish it took a little longer to deliver. So that's impossible. And so the effort that they put into those things, spinning those things up, they know that the energy they put in today will be paying back dividends in the future. So when you have something you know is true, even over the long term, you can afford to put a lot of energy into it." Now, he's a very smart man, and I've obviously used his words there, but I think that's really relevant in our industry today, and especially where Apponboard places itself within the ecosystem. Our technology actually puts us within the middle of consumers, developers, and platforms. And we can't imagine that consumers will be coming up to us in 10 years' time and saying, I wish file sizes were larger so we could fit less of them on our device. We can't imagine platform owners coming up to us and saying, hey, we wish it took longer for our consumers to download products, especially over 6G or 7G or whatever it is in 10 years' time. And we especially don't think that developers will be coming up to us and saying, we wish it took us longer to build an app. So that's exactly where Apponboard is investing. We're investing in a future where our zero-code solution can reduce the friction for developers, platforms, and consumers. So thank you very much. Hopefully we have some time for any questions.
I'm afraid we don't, Paul, I'm sorry.
Well,
So we're gonna have to